Hello, hello, hello. Happy Easter. Happy 420 to some of you guys, maybe. I don't know. Uh, how are y'all doing? It's been a long day here at the shack of trying to do stuff in here and outside and around the house, and it's getting busy. It's getting back to summertime where there is no time for nothing but go, 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 go. Work, work, work. So hope y'all's days have been well. So yeah. How y'all doing? What are you doing over there messing with, Steve? Got your new headset there? Hello?
Hey, sorry, I was switching headphones.
I said, did you get you a new headset over there?
Well, I did. I think the Bluetooth module in my computer is junk because it's really tinny. And when I put these wired ones on, it's pretty clear. But then I got to remember not to roll away from the station too fast if I go to grab something because, I'm leashed.
Yeah, stand up and go to get something and be like tethered. Yep. Be like a bungee jump.
Anyway, now my audio sounds better. So,
yeah. Well, it is Easter, so I don't expect everybody to be here today because I know a lot of folks have obligations and things going on or whatnot. But we didn't have a whole lot going here today, so been trying to get some stuff done around the house and just playing catch up, guys. I got hung up with machine reviews because I hadn't done any in a while. It seems like, and then all of a sudden it was just like wham, 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 and I've been overwhelmed. And then I get this guy in, and this thing's just cool as grits. So I've got to get, and I'm still doing some testing on this. So I got to get this put together. I think I know where I'm at right now on it. I'm assuming that it doesn't go south.
I'm about ready to throw mine out.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I take it Steve's experience so far has not been the same as mine.
No, I can't even run mine. That cable, I even swapped it for the spare one they included for some reason, and it's worse. So I sent them information, I sent them videos, I sent them photos. I said, you need to fix this, and I think you're using the wrong materials, so make it better.
I don't understand why they didn't put a little drag chain inside there or under there somewhere.
The problem is they use that PVC coated wire, which is not meant for flexible operations.
Oh, it's just
so if there's any sort of learned, where is my cable? I've got one here.
Yeah, I know what you said. I've got some of the flexible, more flexible wire, and then you got the hard.
So like this is a learned, it's going to remember this bend, and it doesn't lay flat, so it keeps curling over on itself and started biting into that sheath. It's just, and silicone wire, it's not that much more expensive, and it would solve the problem.
Yeah.
So they're just, I don't know if they're being cheap or lazy or arrogant. I don't know. But
you sound like me talking to Monport now.
I'm sorry. On some of these things that are literally pennies for them, it might cost us an extra $2 on the machine and make it so that problem doesn't happen.
Yeah. See, I don't know if I'll have to check mine because mine is smooth. I don't know. Maybe you got the bad batch of wire.
I mean, what they said was, you have a prototype machine and it has a different wiring harness, so we'll send you a new one. I'm like, okay, it better be different.
Let me see what mine is if I can figure out what I did with it.
I put mine down back into park mode or whatever, and it's on the bottom shelf of a thing. And if they send something out, fine. Otherwise, I'm not worrying about that one for a while. But
now I've got it. Look.
Yeah, see, that's the problem.
Same stuff.
And that's how my second one came. And I tried for hours to get that to kind of unlearn itself. And then I ran, I think the second job I ran on it hooked up again. And so.
Yeah, I think probably the only way would be to heat it up maybe and just like put weight on it. But yeah, this is definitely some stiffer wire. Like I said, I got lucky on mine. I don't know why, but mine, because ever since you told me what yours was doing, I've been watching mine, and it's working flawless. So I was like, I'm not touching it. I'm not messing with mine because it's doing good right now.
So yeah, that one's on the back burner.
But yeah, it's hard to train it not to do that.
Yep.
So yeah.
But yeah, it's been a kind of a, well, I mean, it's been a weekend at home here as well. We didn't do too much for Easter here. It's been a rainy day this afternoon. I did get the Suitor 3S, kind of my initial impressions video out on it. So if you're curious about my thoughts on that, what I was able to do with that one, check that out. Pretty good machine. I did have a small issue with one of the bolts breaking on the stock mount. So then I swapped out to the larger trim router anyway, which I figured, I wasn't sure if I was going to do in the initial video or not, but I figured, hey, since I got to swap these things around anyway.
Yeah.
And it is a much better machine with the bigger, the bigger spindle and such.
Yeah,
so.
you've got me wanting to swap mine over to a bigger one and play with it, but I got to get caught up on some other stuff before I do that. So I'm just gonna have to pause on that for right now. I've actually been looking at some of the cheaper 65 millimeter spindles.
Right. I'm not sure which one I want to go with. I mean, the Harbor Freight trim router is working okay. But I think, and I Dave Gatton asked me about it in the comments of that video too. And I said, it works all right. And I got this one on sale. It was like under $40 at the time. So I don't feel like it really owes me much. I will say, I think it gets bogged down a little bit faster than like the Makita and some of the others, like the Sane Smart one they have on the Pro Max.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it's the best cheap replacement for there, but it worked and it improved things. So I'm going to do a little digging and see which one I want to put on there a little more permanently. But yeah, that machine's done well, enjoying it. Probably going to do, and I mentioned this in the video as well, going to try to put out maybe a getting started video with it, because a few people are asking more about software stuff. Unfortunately, the designing the files is that's the thing where there's kind of a pretty wide variety of softwares out there. Of course, you and I use VCarve Pro, which is really nice software, but it's a chunk of change to spend right out the gate. But you and I talked with Carveco at Workbench Con, and they've kind of been trying to connect with us over the past couple of weeks, see if they can, I know they wanted to set up a video call with me, and so I'm hopeful that I can start integrating that as well as an option for being able to show stuff.
Yeah, I got the same email, basically just trying to coordinate times and stuff. I didn't mention, the fact that me and you were in the same time zone, so if they wanted to just group up, we could. But yeah, I think that'll be a good addition, because that's the one software that I really can't speak to. I've used Easel in my early days of CNCing because it was the easiest. Like, to be able to get in there and make some stuff, it was easy. But it was very limiting. It was kind of like, some of the softwares for some of these machines, the proprietary software, it had the basic tools, but once you got trying to do more advanced stuff, it got harder and harder. So I ended up going to VCarve, and I've been stuck on VCarve ever since, because, these other softwares, you can't just go around buying every software just to see which one you like. So I did a lot of research, and VCarve seemed to be everybody's favorite, so that's what I went with. But I know our buddy across the pond over there uses Carveco a lot and speaks pretty highly of it. James Dean over at James Dean Designs, if y'all want to go check him out. But he put us up in contact with Carveco in Atlanta, and so maybe we'll try it out and might actually have opportunity to do some videos with it or something.
Yeah, well, that's the hope, that it's a little less costly to get into, because their basic subscription, I think, starts at $15 a month, so it's a little easier to kind of dip your toe in with that. So hopefully giving that a try in the future, and then also a little more on using G-Sender with these machines. So which seems to be a better control software for these when you're going to hook it up with a computer. So
yeah, I've been enjoying it. I haven't used Candles since then. Since I started using it.
But yeah, also it's been bugging me for a little while, and had a little time this morning, so I decided to pull the panel off the side of the Reno 45 Pro, and take a look. So I did find out what's in there. I put out a little 3-minute short YouTube video, and those don't always show up in everybody's feeds. I put it on my Facebook feed as well. But if you're, I know people have been asking me about that one and some of the things, and the air assist has been one of the areas where I'm like, could be better. Well, I did dig into it. There is just a little air pump in there, and it's just always on. You turn the machine on, it turns on. But I was able to pop the air hose off there, and I used one of these 30 milliliter or 30 liter a minute pumps that you get with like the Atom Stack and IKEA machines. I was able to hook that up to it, and there was definitely more airflow going through it. So did some cut tests on there, and it was a pretty good improvement on the cut speed. And so I also looked at, it is a Top Wisdom board that does have the port for the light burn control. So a relay could be an option in the future. I just need to take a look and see, since that's in my basement shop, I have a smaller quiet compressor I could probably run down there, but this separate air pump works really well compared to the stock. So I don't know that even more air at it is going to matter because it seemed to be a pretty heavy stream coming out of the cone after I swapped it out. So
yeah. Let's see here. All right, so let me get something out of the way. All right. Radu the Impaler, the guy, David Pingle, that you were asking me about in the email, is actually in the chat now. I just saw both of you guys. So if the two of y'all are wanting to like figure out how to get in contact, now's your chance because both of you are in the live. But yeah, Radu, the back it's doing better. I'm able to get out in the yard and do more than what I've been doing. Still, I've got like my walk being messed up from the knee and the back and everything is bringing back some old injuries from like 30 years ago. So my Achilles tendon has been giving me a little trash lately, but I'm slowly resolving that, I hope. But yeah, but this is the pump that I thought was in that machine. It looks a lot like this little Ashmer pump.
yeah, no, it's smaller than that.
Really?
Yeah.
But I will say too, I was really thankful that Brett over at Brett's Laser Garage, he did a video on the Mega right after I did mine. So it's not just me complaining about the Mega's air assist being underpowered. Brett actually did a really cool video, and I appreciate that, Brett, because it helped me out because I'm not able to pick this machine up by myself and move it right now. So I was curious as to whether or not I could use one of my relays that I use for my shop air. And Brett answered the question for me. Overwhelmingly answered the question for me. So if I do decide to go that route, I do know now that I can. I also have a couple of relays that will work off of 24 volts and it'll switch, like these other air assist pumps and stuff like that, where you can run them through there. So there are options if I decide to keep the Monport Mega up here and use it. For what I use a CO2 for, I'm going to be honest with you, I can make it work using the macros if the air assist was better. Because they did update the firmware and allow me to turn the fan up higher as far as the exhaust fan. So that was an improvement. But, there's no auto focus or anything involved with it now. But yeah, it's but that was good to know. Good news. Good. Appreciate you there, Brett, if you're watching. And if y'all are curious about it, you can go check his video out. And he does a good job of showing you the parts and how he went about changing it over. Very similar to what I typically do with these other machines. Same parts involved.
Yeah. It's a little. I kind of expect that on some of these lower end machines, kind of like even the Ohmtech Maker I have, that's kind of like their entry level cabinet size laser. And so when they're trying to keep the price down, I kind of expect that. But when you're getting into these all-in-one, smart lasers that have a lot of features to them, you're paying a bit for it, use proprietary software, you kind of want it to work without having to hack it too much. So we'll see. Yeah. I know they're still working on things, and kind of, if you follow the Facebook groups and such, a lot of people like it, but it has a lot of bugginess with the software, it seems. So
yeah, their software still got a little work to be doing. Jim is asking what type of laser is that to the right of the com marker. I don't know if you mean that right or this right.
Probably screen right.
Well, this is the We Create 45 watt over here. You probably recognized it. They've been throwing a lot of money at Facebook ads and such. This is the Omtech 60 watt Mopa, but this is their autofocus version. So if you go to their website and you look at 60 watt Mopa, there's two different ones. You'll know it's the autofocus because the base is thicker on the autofocus one. The cabinet in the bottom of it's bigger, and it has single one push autofocus. The caveat to it is though, you've got to have your material out here under this other little red dot toward the front of the work area, and then you hit the autofocus button. And so far, it's been really effective. And Steve, I will tell you too, something else that this machine has that you're going to like is, you know, those little red dots that are typically up here that you always bump and they end up getting knocked off, like the cross aiming dots. These are behind a piece of glass, so you can't knock them around. And so far, they've been very accurate. So,
well, on the B6, it was similar, but you could actually adjust those.
Yeah, these have. I'm sure these have an adjustment, but I have noticed that they're behind the glass. I don't know how to adjust them. Haven't fooled with them. Haven't needed to adjust them. So, and the focus on this one's a lot more forgiving than what I'm used to with other machines. Because, you know, typically you go down a millimeter or two, you start losing focus. And you have to dial it down. I burned all the way through this brass coin the other day. I burned all the way through it and a millimeter deep into this aluminum block right here, and I did not have to change the focus. Like I did this from focused at the surface of the material right here. So that was very surprising. Never had a fiber that would do that. But that hole is pretty deep. Let me see how deep it is. Then I get it lined up. But yeah, it's a fun machine. So 3.3 millimeters deep is how deep that hole went. And that was 200 passes. And I set the block of material under it just thinking it would help dissipate the heat. But I'm glad I did, because had I not, I would have had that hole in the bed of my machine. So little lesson there. Always put something under your machine. I've been using for when I'm doing I've been playing around with saw blades and stuff and engraving these old saw blades that I don't throw away, that I keep for whatever reason. And I put a piece of wood underneath them, because typically wood's not going to interact real good with the fiber. But I will say this machine tends to interact with it slightly. So
yeah, that's what my friend found with his 50 watt fiber he bought. He bought a com marker one, and he was able to engrave into wood a little ways. And I was like, you know, you're not supposed to be able to go too deep with that, but okay.
It as you can see, it will actually affect the wood. Yep. Now this could be too because it's getting little particulates of metal, you know, falling over in those holes, and then the laser is hitting them and causing heat. Right. But yeah, it has been interesting with the metal, and this has just been some playing around with doing different layered designs and stuff like that. I haven't done as much with it as I want to, because I don't know if y'all saw the video that I did about my air assist or my exhaust needing an upgrade. I was doing slate earlier, and it started getting bad in here, like to the point where I was concerned about my health. So like there was dust going everywhere.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to do an embossing on this, and I got it started, but then after it obvious that I had a ventilation problem, I went ahead and stopped it. I'm like, I'll readdress this once I get my ventilation issue resolved. So that's what this is for. This is a 6-inch fan with a remote. So it works pretty well. That came with the Omtech Polar. And I just never use it with the Polar. So I'm going to replace that one. It's going to bottleneck a little bit because I've only got 4-inch hose, but it'll still perform better than that 4-inch fan on that 4-inch hose. Because it's only going from there to this table. So that's what I'm going to put that fan over there. I'm got some adapters designed. I just got to get them printed. And then I'm going to mount that fan over there where that orange and black one is and mount the controller over here somewhere. So, but yeah. But that's it. OnTech 60-watt Mopa with autofocus. So far, so good. It does have that janky little button that you got to push when you power it up, though. I wasn't a fan of that. I'm not sure what the purpose of it is, but now that I know it, it's okay. There just was no mention of it in the manual until I went online and started looking at the definition of what the buttons were supposed to be for.
Well, you're not the only one who had some fun with coins this week.
Uh-oh. What'd you do?
I made a cooler.
Ah, you're cheating. You're printing them. You're printing them.
Well, yes, that's because I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a box sitting back there.
Yeah.
And it's a UV printer. It's coming out from UV Make. They just kind of lifted the embargo on it, so we can talk about it. The Kickstarter starts later this month. So I should have more of a full video out on it in about 10 days. But yeah, it'll print on most anything. So it's like an iPhone case. But the other cool thing is you can print. I mean, you can just do straight printing on materials. So here's Pippin on it. No, it's Pippin, his brother. Oh. It's just a wooden coaster, and that's just a flat printing. But they also have this kind of layered effect. And so this is a photo I took out at our club field. If I can rotate this right, you'll kind of see it layers up the ink in various spots to give it kind of a depth effect and such.
Like an embossing.
Yeah, kind of an embossing or a layered look to it.
Cool.
Now that definitely is slower and eats up a lot of the white ink. But the nice thing is that it lays down the ink and it instantly cures it with UV light. And so it's very quick, comes out dry right away. And so, you know, some of Carla's photographs on that, they sent some, here's another example of that. So this is a straight photo on a magnet. I can get that to show up. But then I also turned on kind of the color depth on this one, and that's where things kind of get a little bit raised there. You can kind of see it with the glare.
Yeah.
So kind of interesting effects that it can do, all the way up to very large prints. And this one I did with that kind of layered effect too. It took 7 hours to do this because I think my settings were really screwed up because it put a really thick layer down that it was building up that base. But it does add a cool effect when you get it right. You can kind of see the awning there. But if you do just straight flat, so this is something I did just before the live. This is a 10x8 canvas print. This was complete and dry in 9 minutes.
Huh.
So pretty cool. Now the thing is, the ink consumption on this is just a fraction of what it is on that larger one where it does that buildup. It's a CMYK, and then it has white, gray, black, I think. So it's got 6 ink cartridges. And then it has a cleaning solution, because what this does is also have it'll purge the ink and run this cleaning solution through it, so it doesn't get clogged up. So this is really geared towards like your home hobbyist or maybe a small business, where the maintenance isn't going to be as much of an issue if you let it sit for a little while. But that pack of ink, it's like $300 is retail price. So I'm trying to figure out how much ink it takes for some of these things to really give a better idea of the cost of that. But they also have a rotary tool with it. And so you can print straight onto, like tumblers and mugs. The cool thing is, I haven't hooked it up yet, but I was watching the video on it. You lock it into this gantry thing and it raises each side independently. So it uses lasers to automatically level the cup. So you don't have to worry about weird shims and whatnot, as long as it sits in their rotary thing. So it's not like a jaw style. It's more like the roller style. So certain ones aren't going to fit very well, but kind of a cool option to be able to add some color to things. Of course, neither of our logos have color, but this could be a color challenge going.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's another thing I've been kind of having some fun with. That adds a, if you're doing this as a business of customization, oh, and the other thing I was able to do kind of as an example of this, USB flash drives. So I was able to, it's not going to focus very well, is it? But on this aluminum part, I was able to engrave the school's logo and the department name on here. And I put like 3 of them down.
You engraved it or painted or printed?
Well, printed.
Okay.
It did those in, it was like the whole job took less than a minute. Which is probably more setup than printing and such. So doing like customization of things like this, you could lay down probably a rack of pens as well, dog tags, things like that to kind of add a little extra flavor to some of your,
oh yeah, it
jobs.
looks like a cool machine if you had room for it. Me personally, right now, I'm running out of room. I'm busting at the seams over here.
Well, it's not something you're going to want in your shop because the dust isn't going to be good for it. It's the machine itself is probably no bigger than your typical computer tower. It has wings that fold down if you've got to do bigger stuff. And also it's very temperature sensitive. I did have it out here at first because I did the unboxing out here, just kind of see how big it would be. And then it ran right away. Okay. But then it cooled off out here. I tried running it and it was like, no, I'm too cold. I wanted to be at, basically 60 degrees or above Fahrenheit.
It's probably just so that the ink or whatever stays with the proper viscosity or something. I'm imagining.
So I don't think it's really necessarily something you'd want out in your workshop.
Yeah.
It's more like, put it in a dust-free environment next to the 3D printers. So
yeah, well, and if I ever get around to, my dream shop to where I have an office / clean area, my plan is to put 3D printers and other type printers in that area. But we'll see if that ever works out. Maybe it will. What's up, D. Klein? Klein's happy up there. He finally got the same internet at his house that I've got in mine. So he's happy now. He called me the other day when the guy was there wiring it up. Happy as he could be.
Well, I don't have quite your upload speeds, but I did get a free upgrade to basically a gig download here. So I was happy with that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It seems like you might be running a little smoother. I don't want to jinx us just yet, but it seems like because you were having a little issue with a little chop every now and then before.
Well, yeah, and they did double my upload speed, so it's plausibly helping. But it's all the same equipment. They just opened up the floodgates a bit. But Radu, it is the Eufy make, which is by Anchor. They're just changing their maker stuff from Anchor make to Eufy make. So yeah, it's their Kickstarter's coming out. It's either 28th or 30th. It's right around then when the actual Kickstarter launch. If you want to get the best deal, you can put a deposit down on their website, I think starting on the 23rd. And then if you join the Kickstarter, you get like an extra $200, $300 off. I forget what the pricing is, but yeah, it's kind of I've looked at a number of printers. I've looked at some of the DTF ones as well, because I do some of those transfers, but those, it's kind of a 2-step process. They've got to print, and then they got to put the powder on, and then you got to bake that. And it, like you were saying, it takes up a lot of space. This doesn't take up a whole lot of space. It's really not a whole lot bigger than having a large inkjet printer in your office.
So it'll print pretty much on anything though, right?
Yeah, they pretty much on anything. They say it's not great on fabrics because it's too, the fabrics get too flexible, and or if it's like really glossy ceramic or metal, there's like a pre-treat thing you can do. But
you bought some like blank, like you showed a while ago, those phone covers. You could make some really wicked designs and stuff, especially be able to do color. That was
yeah. So I mean, I've been playing around with a few different things. Like I say, there's this is a pretty glossy, shiny plastics, and it's stuck to that pretty well. I'll have to see how well it wears, but it's similar to the resin-based 3D printers where the UV stuff cures it pretty fast, and then it's pretty hard. So,
well, can your UV printer do this?
It would probably use a lot of ink. No, it can only go up to about 5 millimeters, and then it's going to stop.
I don't know how I did this. This was still attached to the hot end. You can see where I used my oscillating saw to cut it. Yeah. So I'm thinking I'm going to make like a little display and display this, because I'm telling you, I don't think anybody can recreate this. Like it is layers on top of layers. There's
I'm not sure anybody would want to recreate that.
So. I brought it out here in case anybody asked me about it. But yeah. Let's see.
But yeah, the inks that that was their recommendation. They do say they're proprietary, and so you can't just use any inks. You have to use their cartridges. So I'm sure that's where they're going to make the bulk of their money. But maybe they'll come out with a more fabric friendly ink that works. As far as how long do they last, I've printed quite a few things. The colors are what are lasting longer, because anytime I do these kind of layered things, they're using the white ink to build it up. And so I've gone through one of those cartridges accidentally, because I think one of my settings on a larger thing was putting way too much white ink down. Everything else seems to be like, in fractions of milliliters. So I need to look at some of their documentation to see what they're stating as kind of the coverage of a whole ink cartridge, and then be able to, because I really do want to speak to like, hey, here's an 8x10 print, and the ink used ended up costing X amount.
Where it tells you the estimated cost of your.
Well, it tells you the estimated usage of ink, and it'll break it down by color.
Yeah,
so you can figure it
unit.
out. They don't have it necessarily built right in, but yeah, it's it'll be interesting to kind of get that calculation and figure out the cost. I'm impressed with the speed, though. Like I say, 8x10 print done in 9 minutes and dry.
Yeah, that's pretty fast.
That's pretty cool.
Like I said, I wouldn't mind having one of those to fool with, but right now I have nowhere to put it. So I'm not even entertaining that currently. Simple Simon says, what do you guys do with the machines after you test them? I mean, I guess you mean like long term. Most of my machines either wind up being given away in my members area, or at events. Like I'm gonna be giving one away October. It's October 24th, I think it is. At the meet and greet, I'm gonna be giving one away there. So I've gave away 2 at 2 other meet and greets that I've been to, and shipped several of them through giveaways that we do here on the channel also. So it just depends. I've donated them to schools. I've donated them to some of my friends that are retired military guys, or retired law enforcement. I got a couple of guys like Klein and a few other guys that basically they are into lasers and CNCs, and I just keep them supplied with new machines, and they help me on jobs. So when I get backed up and can't take jobs, I just send the jobs over to them, and they do the work. And basically, they just get to trade in machines pretty regular. But most of the machines, once they have lost their usefulness here, as far as me being able to do content, answer questions about them and stuff like that, and kind of the need for content with them kind of subsides. And if it's not something that's on my main line up here, because there's some of these machines that are on my main line that I use weekly, but the ones that aren't on my main line get cycled out to, like, Klein gets first pick because he helps me with jobs, and then my buddy Billy, I got a buddy Chris, and then a bunch of other people, a couple family members that I provide machines to. And there's a whole lot of makers in my area that have machines that originated from here, because, like I said, at some point you just can't keep all of these things, and so I try to make sure somebody's going to use it and is going to put it to use. So there's a few people that watch the lives on Sunday that have my machines and run them and use them and love them. And it's getting harder because I've about saturated, like, everybody that I know personally that I would give one to. I've about saturated the market with machines. So, but I do, like I said, I will be giving something away, at least one, October at the meet and greet that I'm going to be doing. And I've got 2 of the Cubicos now. and we're going to be. There's already been I already put some posts out and stuff in the members area about that. But the small stuff that I can ship, I don't mind shipping out to people as long as it's, I can't ship to Australia, unfortunately. Chris, I'd rather just drop ship it from Amazon for you, brother, because it's cheaper for me, I think. But yeah, it's me and Steve both are trying to give back some of these machines, but I got a lot of them sitting around here because you never know when somebody's going to have a question or need a tutorial on how to clean it or how to adjust this or how to do whatever. So they typically hang around here for a pretty good while. I think Steve does a lot of the same things. Now, you've got some up for grabs if people are nearby Minnesota, right?
Yeah, similar to you, I've got some friends that they help me out with certain things. So I send them kind of if I don't need it. Now, some of these machines, especially when we have longer term working arrangements with manufacturers, even though I don't use them too often, I try to hang on to them because it's helpful for doing comparison down the road, or if something comes up with, a specialty machine, I can still pull it out and do something with it. But some of these, especially when they get replaced with a newer model, it's nice to find a new home for it because I can't use them all.
Cane. Let me go see what's going on. Last time he did this, it was a donkey.
So occasionally I'm trying to clear some things out. Right now I do have that Monport M40. It's like the K40 machine. It's light burn ready. I haven't ran it for a while, so the tube may or may not be overly happy, but if someone's in the area and wants to play with an M40, a little K40 CO2, hit me up. If we can make something happen, I'd be happy to get the space back in the shop. And I got to go through some of the other things. I might have a couple of open frame diode lasers that could be rehomed as well. But yeah, we try to, like Clark said, there are some smaller machines that might be coming in. Whether it's through our members channels or, if we do like when we get closer to the holidays, we try to do an open one for everyone. Do want to give back when it's reasonable to make that delivery, because I've tried years ago. I shipped some things internationally and it was a pain. Even my lens kits, just to send them to Canada or other places, it's $15-20 in shipping, which is that's just for a 3-ounce padded envelope, really. So yeah, it gets a little tough trying to look at that internationally, but we do want to try to give back when possible. And so stay tuned to both channels. When we have stuff that we're going to send out, we'll try to get them out there.
He just wants to bark. That's all. Hear him? As soon as he goes back out the door, he starts barking again. There's nothing out there. He started barking like a lot more. I think he's just gotten really comfortable being here. Or really protective. I don't know, but he barks a lot now.
Chris would like you to drop ship the UV printer.
I don't have it, so
no, you could just drop ship it.
No. Well, I mean, if you win it, Chris, if we ever have a drawing, I'll do that. But I'm really having a drawing for that one. Steve,
these will be available on Amazon eventually. That's what they've said. So keep hitting up Clack. Tell them to give back for hitting 40K subscribers. That's what he
I just hit 40K. Y'all get me on up there. We hit a sure enough big number on the subscribers, and I might drop ship somebody something. But we got a long way to go. I can't believe I actually finally, which is it's been a long time to me because I'm just anxious and I've been like, just hammering it. It seems like it took forever, but I know realistically speaking, it actually hasn't been all that long. So, see what else we got. You can at least walk away from the door with the barking.
News fans asking, do you think the Fox Alien could accept a 1.2 kilowatt spindle? It'll fit in the mount. I don't know. It probably would move it around okay. It's a pretty stout machine, but those spindles do have some weight to them.
Yeah.
So
My comments got refreshed, and my goodness, I just got behind.
you just got to scroll down.
There you go. Big Heart's got a question. It says, what inline fan do you recommend for going to 4-inch exhaust? I mean, if you've got it, 6-inch, I guess, would be the best at this point, depending on the size output of your machine. I had really good luck with 20-watt machines with 4-inch fans. When I went up to a 40-watt machine, I had to go up to a 6-inch fan on this enclosure over here. Now, I've still got it choked down to a 4-inch because I don't want to have to redo all my outside little louvers that I've bought. So I've got it choked down to a 4-inch, but now it only goes like 4 feet. So it's yes, is it operating efficiently as it could? No, but I think it's doing a good enough job getting the smoke out of there, so I'm leaving it alone. Just like that one over there. Using it as an assist fan with, say, the We Create or some of these other enclosed machines that have their own fan already, the 4-inch works great for an assist fan, just to keep everything moving through the hose and get it outside the building. With the Galvos, it's not drafting enough air to pull the air across the work area that I need, so I'm having to upgrade that. I'm gonna be putting in this big 6-inch, or I think it's a 6-inch fan that I've got behind me over here. In so, what is your thoughts there, Steve?
Yeah, most of the 4-inch fans are. I mean, if everything's perfect, they'll be an improvement over the stock fan that's in the laser, if it has one. But I prefer to run a 6-inch fan, and if you can run 6-inch ducting as long as you can, that's when it's going to be the most efficient. I don't have that fully on mine, and I know I'm losing efficiency and making the fan work a little bit harder, but it's still better than putting a 4-inch fan in there. It's still pulling more air through it. So just kind of depends on what your setup is. If you're stuck with a 4-inch fan and have to use that, try to get something that I think the higher end of those is like around 195 to 200 CFM. Try to make sure you get one that is going to pull as much air as it can, and that'll give you the best shot at it. But if you can get a 6-inch fan and even use the adapters to couple it down, it'll probably give you some improved airflow.
Rob, to be honest with you, the material that I get is pre-finished. I'm not sure what they use on it. You could attempt to pre-finish your own materials. I don't think it's going to have the same effect as the stuff they put on there from the factory, because it seems like that stuff is more or less like baked on, because it's a lot more scratch resistant and everything than what I put on them. But me and Steve both use the some material from True Flat, and it works really well. If you're not, as far as like for 3mm material, it's a little more expensive than your typical 3mm, but it does a pretty good job. So you could look at that. Other than that, I mean, you're just going to have to do some testing. I mean, I use polyurethane or polyacrylic, but typically I don't seal before I engrave. If it's something that's not already finished, I just bump it with some 220 grit sandpaper on my random orbital after I get through, hit it with a little compressed air, and then seal it. So what says you, Steve?
If you're going to try it yourself, I would stick with the polyurethane. I would do a spray on instead of any sort of brush on, just to try to make sure it's even. And then you're gonna want to build up a few layers of that, like you would if you're finishing something. That's probably going to give you the best results that don't get, because some of these things, when you vaporize them, they're going to create more gummy vapors and sticky mess than others. So that's the one I would stick with. Otherwise, yeah, I would try to find it pre-applied. The True Flat plywood is available, and in smaller sheets it works well for people, but it's a little expensive. You can find the right cabinet maker or hardwood dealer. They're going to have some options in pre-finished one or both sides, and it's going to be cheaper, but then you have to break it down yourself. So
yeah, that's where I get mine at Rugby, and like I said, a couple of folks have messaged me and said they found a Rugby nearby their house and they went and got some and they're having good luck with it. I will tell you, it's, as far as materials goes, it's a little harder than most other materials. This birch is, but this stuff is pre-finished, So I don't got to do nothing to it. The time that I save by not having to worry about finishing it and not having to sand it and clean it and all that, it makes it worth it. But it's really not that much more expensive than, say, like regular standard Luan. There was cat hair all over that thing, and it flew everywhere.
Yeah. It's it can be a nice thing to do. The only gotcha on it is if you're going to be gluing pieces together, depending on your glue, it's not going to like to stick to or soak through the finish. So just keep that in mind if you're doing a structural thing. You might have to change up the glue you're using.
Well, I have pre-finished and non-finished, so I cheat if I'm doing layered stuff. Which the pre-finished, the cool thing is it's only pre-finished on one side. So if you're doing a 2-layered project, you just flip the 2 unfinished sides into the middle, slap the glue on it, and go. If it's a 3-layered, you have to use a piece of unfinished to put in the middle.
Yep. V, if you're responding to where the machines I have, I'm up in southern Minnesota. Unless I'm traveling somewhere, even when I'm traveling somewhere, it's often kind of a hassle to stop. I tend to travel on tight schedules, and when I get on the road, I get going. But I would need to meet up with someone relatively close to me. I had someone the other day reach out about something else that I have for sale, and they were like, "Hey," and it lists in there. I'm like, "Local pickup in my town only," and they're like, "Well, would you? I'll buy this, but I want to meet up here in the Twin Cities." It's like an hour and a half away from me. I'm like, "No, I'm not planning on going there anytime soon. Sorry." But if there's someone, one of our listeners or viewers, and we can make it work, I'm willing to meet you somewhere in the kind of the immediate South Central Minnesota area.
Yeah.
David, my lenses fit the regular MK2 1030 Lasermatic. I believe it's the same module on the XW. I don't think there's anything different. So unless they've changed something, yes, they should fit fine. If you the way to be sure is if you can take the air assist cone off, you'll see a brass end cap on the end of the module. Measure, I think the outer diameter of those is like 16 millimeter, and then the inner diameter is around 14-ish. If that's the case, it's your typical lens cover. For a lot of dial lasers use the same one. These will fit in there. You end up probably having to soak out the old. They're usually glued in, and then you can pop that loose, and then I leave 2 different sizes of O-rings in there because some different modules have different lengths to it. And then that holds it in place, and then it's easier to swap out the next time. I have tested them in my MK2. That's the regular size, and they do work fine.
Ooh, try to get caught up on his comments. It's a lot of reading. But yeah, guys, if we don't respond to all your statements and comments and stuff like that, we apologize. A lot of it seems to be just people going back and forth between each other. And y'all feel free to do that, but sometimes when we're scrolling through here, we speed scroll, so we may miss things. So if we do, just ask it again. Throw some question marks in front of it. That kind of helps be able to pick them out.
I assume this is talking about the instead of the pre-finish to keep the staining down. This can work depending on your laser. Some of them don't like interacting with the tape as much, so you're going to have to play with your settings a little more. And you want to make sure that whatever tape or masking you use is more of a paper-based. Some of them will have like vinyl PVC type stuff in it, and that's going to cause you some problems. But yeah, I've used it's more of a paper transfer tape that works well as a mask. You just got to make sure you're going to want to seal it down pretty well, because as the laser goes over it, if it's not stuck down, sometimes it curls up and then it traps that stuff in there anyway. But it's definitely an option. I've used it on, I actually did a video a couple of years ago on marking some Swiss Army knives. And so the finish was on and I didn't want to leave a stain that I couldn't remove. So I did use some painter's tape and then blasted through that and then just peeled up you have to weed out anything in the middle of your engraving. But it worked well to kind of protect the surface without worrying about it getting stained afterwards. So it can be a tool to use.
Yeah, you just got to be careful because, like I said, some do some testing and make sure you know exactly what the settings need to be on that material to get through it and not leave residue. Because sometimes the painter's tape, I've had experiences where it can leave residue in the engrave because the tape just kind of it just gets gummy in the bottom of the engrave sometimes. And like Steve said, if it's something really intricate, you are going to have to weed out the little tiny pieces of tape in the middle of the design. If it's like a big graphic or something like that, and that's not a concern, but you do have to get you like a little pick, or like a lot of times I don't have the little wire picks. I need to get them, but I don't have them. So a lot of times I'll just use like the corner of my razor knife here and just like pluck them out with it. But it can be a bit of a handful if it's a real intricate design for sure. ATX is saying he bought lift table and extra long honeycomb for his enclosure Zilla build. Going to start with a 4-inch inline fan. Yeah, a 4-inch, like I said, 4-inch is fairly effective up until you get into the 40-watt machines, and then it starts getting a little challenging. I went from the 4-inch, then I just, like I said, I went to a 6-inch fan, but I'm still bottlenecking it down to the 4-inch. What I need to do is take the intake and upgrade it to a 6-inch intake, and then that will increase it a little bit more, and then eventually, hopefully, put 6-inch all the way out. But I'm holding off on that right now because, like I said, I've got this dream that one day I'll be able to get me a different shop, or more room to where I can move some stuff and have more room in here. I don't care if it's a new shop or just some storage. I just need more space. I don't have 3 shops like Steve's got, so I guess technically I got 2 because I'm about taking over the living room.
Yeah, I'm gonna say one of them's a office exercise room / whatever. It's not a not a full up workshop. So
the new if you're talking about the Galvo Lasermatic, it is not out yet. I've seen a couple of the demos that they've had with Rich and stuff. It looks very interesting, and I don't know. I don't know if we'll get to see it here in the shack or not, but it does pique my interest enough to where it would be one of those machines that I would say yes to. I got to where I was being a little, I ain't gonna lie. I was being a little bit of a diva, and I wouldn't take some of the smaller machines and stuff until me and Steve got talking about it. And we're like, we could just give these things to the audience. And, if we have time, if it's not too consuming, or, they're not wanting us to sign a contract or, give a kidney or whatever, we could do that. So that's when we started taking a little more stuff than what we had at for a while, because we had got to where, it does get a little frustrating sometimes dealing with these machines. And so it's natural that you would just want to take the more expensive, better, bigger machines. That way, if it's a headache, it's kind of worth it. Because when it's a headache and it's a $200 machine, it's a headache. Yeah. So we got away from them for a little while, but we've been doing more now with, like, I know you did the Asmer, the little tiny $99 Asmer machine. I've got the Cubico. We both did the Atom Stack, which that's actually not a cheap machine, the new Atom Stack machine. But those, innovative machines were kind of where we were headed to start with. But the MK2 does look very innovative. I'm just
the Galvomatic.
Yes, they're starting to add a lot of stuff to it, though. I'm afraid the economy of it is, even though it's going to be affordable for what you're getting, I think it's still going to raise that price. I mean, because they got to charge you more. They're putting a lot more technology into it. So I'm worried that it may be a little bit higher than some folks are going to want to spend. It's still going to be cheaper than some of the others, but they've got to charge more for it than they did the MK2.
Well, I mean, you're going to get some capabilities out of it, but there's also some complexities. They're having to run some helper apps within Lightburn to make everything work right. So it's going to be there's going to be a learning curve to it, and there's going to be a little more work to it. And anytime all that happens, there's possibilities for things to get messed up. But I'm very excited to see it come out and see how it really performs, how it really functions for people. because for doing larger engravings and having the option to do some cutting with it as well, I think it is a very nice blend between a tower-based Galvo with a gantry-based cutting machine. So, but being kind of one of the, everybody likes to say world's first whatever, and it's kind of like, okay, this does feel like this is truly something different that they're pushing. So I definitely give you props to,
this actually might be a world's first that we know of.
yeah.
And what I'll say is the first one that I know of. That's true.
Right.
There may be some obscure scientist in Japan that came out with it and it never got any traction or anything that I didn't know about, but
within commercially available.
Yes, within reasonable accessibility.
Yeah. Chris is asking, he's got a problem with the Ruida based CO2 y-axis travels 200, should be 300. Says it moves 300 millimeters. Not software drivers or mechanical. Seems odd for a controller error. What have I missed? I would go into Lightburn, and if you go into your device settings, you can do a calibrate access. And when you do that, you set it up and you tell it, okay, move, 200 millimeters, and then you measure how far it actually moved. And then it'll say, okay, what did it actually move? And then it'll adjust basically the steps per millimeter for that axis. So that's where I would look. Maybe it got changed, or maybe I don't know if this is a new or old one, but that's where I would check first. Is check to see that or if the manufacturer can provide you with what the steps per millimeter are supposed to be. You could probably go into the controller settings and do that yourself. Otherwise, they do have the calibrate access that then should write back to the controller the right distance. So I would give that a shot first.
He says he's calibrated the axis. It's not that. So when you run the test, Chris, is it? Because is it drawing? Like if you say draw me a 200 millimeter box, is it drawing a 200 millimeter box?
And with that, do you run the calibration and then write the file back to the controller? Because on the Ruida ones, you can do all your changes in Lightburn, but until you tell it to write. I've done that where I've tried to fix everything and then it's still the same, and I realized I forgot the actual write command to go back to it. But
yeah, you've got to go into the controller and change the steps or adjust the steps or whatever to make it. Like I said, the doing the diagnostic part of it, all that does is tells you what your values are. You still got to input those values. So it's got to be. Pretty much it's got to be. That's got to be the deal. I don't know why it would change unless maybe a firmware update. Maybe it's one of those machines where they borrowed a controller and don't know.
It seems like we're getting that question every week.
Yeah.
We've got no insider information from Lightburn on anything, so
yeah,
we'll kind of know as. You guys will probably tell us, because I think you guys are paying attention to that a little bit more than I am right now. I've been inundated with work stuff, and then just trying to get caught up on things out here. So yeah, Millmage, they do have their Lightburn conference coming up here in a couple months, 2-3 months. So maybe they're at this point holding for that, or they're just dealing with all sorts of feature requests that they feel they need to add in. But yeah, it's if we hear something, I'm sure you'll hear from us, but we're kind of waiting along with everyone else.
3 Rusty Nails is asking, Steve, now that you've done testing with the Masuda CNC and considering the fact that the 4040 Pro Max comes with the software and larger router, which one would you get if you were starting out? What software are you talking about? Because now the Sender software, both of them have Sender softwares. The machine operation software is only half of the equation with CNCs. The design software is what you've got CAD and CAM. CAD's where you draw your designs, and CAM is where you send it to the machine. They both come with a CAM software, but I don't. Is Genmitsu selling a software with their design software?
I was just checking because sometimes they've had like bundled with a sample subscription to CarveCo or whatnot. I see you can bundle it with VCarve Desktop for a couple $100 more. or actually $300 more. So it's basically the same as buying. Well, it's $50 less than buying it from VCarb. But yeah, you're right. They all use basically open source senders for the cam, the actual machine control. It's a design software that you kind of get hung up on. So I don't know that the software is a benefit per se. So the Pro Max that comes with the 700-watt router is a nice machine. It's going to be able to work with both 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch bits right out of the box. You won't have to worry about upgrading that. Couple of the differences, it has the lighter weight stepper motors. So I feel really in a head-to-head, you're probably going to get more performance out of the other one once you upgrade it to router, but you're also paying more for it. The other thing is the dust shields on the Masuder, much better than the 4040. They have kind of bars in between the rails, but there's still a lot of ways for dust to get in and around those, where I feel like the Masuder, for the most part, it acts like a bowl or at least a slot with edges that it can go out the front or back, but it can't really get to those belts and the wheels as easily. So I feel they do a better job at protecting the kind of the rails and the belts than the Genmitsu. The other nice thing, and this is a small kind of a nitpick thing, the controller for the Masuder is bigger, but it's separate. It's not tied to the side. So, and I'm pretty sure you could take the one off the 4040 and move it if you wanted to, but yeah, I don't know. They're very close. The 4040 Pro Max definitely has an advantage in a little more value for the money up front. The other thing that I really like about the Fox Alien one is that their expansion kit makes it wider instead of deeper. And so from a typical setup of things I'm going to do and orientation, keeping your orientation kind of relative to your facing the machine, that's where if you're going to upgrade it to the larger size, I like the fact that the Fox Alien is going to go wider than deeper, but that you might not care about that. So, but yeah, I both of them are very nice. I think there are, I don't know, the Fox Alien just in free movement seems just a little bit smoother, and it also is capable of faster speeds. So if you're wanting to go with a single machine and drop a laser module on it, I think the Fox Alien is going to do better, as its acceleration is going to be faster and its top speeds are going to be a little bit easier to hit and manage if you're switching to a laser module. Something I honestly don't recommend unless you're just tied to, I only have space and money for one machine. I would much rather see someone get this machine and then a small diode laser separate. So
yes,
those are kind of some of my initial thoughts on it. I still like both.
I don't think you'd be wrong if you went either one.
Yeah. There are some kind of things that each one has. I mean, just straight up value and overall cost. The 4040 Pro Max, I think, has, the fact that they include that trim router and they're about $100 less out of the gate. That's kind of a pretty big deal. But there are some advantages to having those closed loop steppers, having some of that other, that dust shield and such. Over time, I think those you'll see some benefits to it. And I do feel that if you truly put them in, put a similar spindle on each one, I think you're going to be able to push that Fox Alien a little bit harder. But I can't. That's what I think it should happen. I would actually have to run some tests and see. So,
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. As far as out of the box, ready to go on a budget, I think the Genmitsu, like I said, it's a good machine. But like you said, the Fox Alien, once you put a little bit more of a powerful spindle or router or something on it, like if you already have a Makita router, like a palm router, trim router sitting around, you already have one, then you won't have to buy anything. You can just clamp that thing in. The Fox Alien comes with a 65mm clamp, and that'll get you going. The Genmitsu or the Carbide 3D. If you have a 65 millimeter corded router, you're probably good. Just slap that thing in there and go. But yeah, I'm like you. It comes down to budget and expansion. And like I said, are you wanting to make it bigger? Because I'm with you. I do like machines that make herself wider rather than deeper. Case in point, on the other question, somebody's asking, this is my enclosure Zilla with my X40 Max. And I can't find the honeycomb that I'm running, but this is the closest thing to it. The honeycomb that I've got in my enclosure there is a 400 by 850 Nivel. I've got the Nivel and I've got was it Daddy Wheels? Ain't that the company that sent us the other one?
You got the Daddy Wheels. I got a Geek Bee one. So
Geek Bee? Okay.
Geek Bee, yeah.
So but there's a link to that's a 400 by 850. It's a Dofiki, which I'll be honest with you, I think they all buy their materials at the same place and just slap a sticker on it. Because I've got this Nivel in here, and then my backup one that I rotate them out like when they get dirty. So like I've got two now, and so I keep this one in here, and then when it gets I'll rotate them and clean them. And the other one that I have. This is the other one that I have that's ready to go in. This is the Daddy Wheels or whatever you want to call it. But I keep this one clean, ready to go. Well, mostly clean. You can see it's very well used, but mostly clean.
See, the Geek Bee one comes coated in black, so you can't see all the grime until it's really bad.
That's actually a good thing. Yeah, it would be nice if it was black, but that was not.
I mean, it is and it isn't, because you can't quite see the grime building up until it's really bad. So, I mean, it's aesthetically it's nice, but it.
Well, you'll know when you start hearing the micro explosions.
Or the staining on the back from flashbacks. So.
It sounds like somebody's putting M80s in your enclosure. You're like, yep, time to clean it.
So Tom's asking, when replacing the lens, does the O-ring go between the cap and the lens or between the lens and the module? I put the lens in first, so it sits down in the base of the brass end cap, and then the O-ring on top of that. And then when you tighten it down, that O-ring pushes up against the kind of the brass threaded part on the module, and then just snugs up against the lens, keeping that tight against the bottom of the brass cap. And so I have a whole video on my channel about cleaning module kind of maintenance, and in the middle of that I do talk about replacing lenses there. If you want to kind of see my process, just search for that on my channel, and it'll give you a good walkthrough of how I do it with those kits and those O-rings. So
speaking of CNCs, there's the man, the myth, the legend, Cody over at Cadence Manufacturing.
Yeah, hey Cody,
how are you, sir?
Good to see you here.
That little two-piece project I did out of that plastic stuff the other day. Broke out the old O-flute on it. It's like some kind of PVC board or something that I get from this commercial CNC place in my town. My buddy wanted to try to make a spacer he's trying to do some engineering to put a trolling motor on the front of his like cabin cruiser boat, and he needed a spacer to go under the mount. But it was this weird angle that was like non-existent on one corner, inch and a quarter on this corner, inch and three quarters on this corner, and it was just crazy shape. So I had to build it in Fusion 360 and export it as an STL. And then I brought it in and halved it. I halved it in Fusion and then brought the two STLs in and did it as a 3D and two different pieces of material, and then had to glue them together. It was a big fiasco. But the reason we did it was to measure it, because he bought a piece of material to use to do it that's HDPE. That's 1.5 inches thick, but it was $150 for the piece of HDPE. So we didn't want to test it until we made sure we had the geometry right. You know what I mean?
It's quite a few milk cartons.
Yeah. Brad's
asking, do I do any epoxy pours? Did first one last week and really enjoyed it. It's been a while, but yeah, I do actually have some. I've got some different powders to color the epoxy, and so looking forward to doing some of that. Well, I mean, I can do it with the Fox Alien and the little Gemitsu. I've got a buddy that's supposed to come over and hopefully pick up a machine, get that out of my way so I can set up one of the machines over where it's sitting. And then I need to get the enclosure off of my Onefinity because I'm testing some of these other lasers where that's been sitting. So then I can do those, because part of those they're kind of nice when you mill out the thing, you leave it set up on the machine, and then you pour the epoxy, let it cure, and you come back and do a finishing pass on that, especially if it's like in a tray where it's harder to reset zero.
That way you ain't got to worry about trying to get your Z back or your zero.
But then you got to kind of leave it sit with the machine for overnight or longer sometimes, depending on the how well you mixed your epoxy and the setup time. But yeah, it is fun, and it's something to do that can add some cool effects to colors and such. So
well, my coaster is a little dirty where I set my tea on it all the time, but that's actually I think it's a 3mm engraved that I back poured with black epoxy.
My coaster.
There you go. But this was one of my very first epoxy projects, and I just mixed up a little bit, put some pigment in it, which it's dirty. You can see all the rings. But yeah. Sela says, have you ever gotten into the hobby of 3D printing? Sela, you must be new to the video, to the live. We don't have 3D printers out here, but just like today, which I don't know where my head was. I brought an STL in to use in Fusion to make sure I had this fitted properly, and I brought in my 3 to 4 inch adapter to use so that I could like slide it in here, you know what I mean, and use the geometry of that, because I know that works in Fusion. Well, I used the wrong side of the 3 to 4 inch adapter. I used the 3 inch instead of the 4 inch. So this is useless. This is not what I needed. But this is going to go, and I had to make some adjustments. But that's going to go from that big fan right there to a 4 inch. But you can see all of this stuff hanging off these machines that's orange, and all this blue, and then there's some orange over there and some green. All that stuff's 3D printed. Like, I don't do like decorative 3D prints. I do functional 3D prints. I don't do like the dragons and snakes and stuff like that. I print adapters and just like stuff for machines. So yeah. But this turned out good. Worked out good. But this needed to be about 3mm bigger. And this fit perfectly on the 3 inch, but it won't fit the 4 inch. So
yeah,
I'm gonna make a funnel out of it, I guess, or plan.
I've made all sorts of them. And I always hate that when I can get this one off there. So this is one I have to go from the weird atom stack to my vent. I know you made one. I changed it a little bit and tapered it.
Yeah.
And I always measure it. I always double check, and then never fails that I make one side the inner diameter when it was supposed to be the outer diameter, or vice versa. You know what they say? Measure twice, print once.
These were made before I mastered lofting in Fusion. That's why they all have this hard shoulder.
Yeah.
Because I didn't, lofting was kind of like one of those unknown wizardries to me. But when I went to developing my new interchangeable little horns for my exhaust system for the fibers, I have become quite the, like, I don't know. It's just like 3 clicks and bam, I've got it made. Like literally it's easy now that I've learned how to loft in Fusion. I made this one for my longer, like when I need a longer one with a little bit bigger area. And then this is my, wow, that's close to the back of the work area one. This one's short, but it sits right down. When you put it on there, it sits right down on the work area. So yeah, it's got to have a bigger fan though. It does not suck enough.
Yeah, it seems like a tight bend for the air to.
It is, but I'm hoping with the 6 inch I can throw enough horsepower at it that it won't matter. It'll be like a big shop vac. That's what I'm hoping. So.
Cody's asking, anyone ever try oven cleaner and a pressure washer to clean the honeycomb? Yeah.
That's not the preferred method.
But I don't like using things that are too harsh, especially on these lighter weight metals and such. So I I use kind of like what Jack was saying, a little LA Awesome or Simple Green, let that soak down, and then hit it with the pressure washer. And that does pretty good. But if you're in a hurry and want to use the heavier chemicals, oven cleaner is going to make a fast work of it. So.
I'm getting as bad as you and your glues.
Most any degreaser works pretty well on those. Just if they're built up, and take a little bit more.
If you neglect them, sometimes you got to break out the cheap oven cleaner from Dollar General.
Yeah. Yep. Mike Thompson just bought a 100-watt fiber laser. They told me it comes with EasyCAD. Yeah, a lot of the fibers do come with EasyCAD 2, and those are the ones that are compatible with Lightburn. So it's just nice to be able to use a similar tool. But EasyCAD works. A lot of people have used that for years with it. I just find Lightburn a little more intuitive with setting up the various settings and the cross hatches and all that stuff. So it's one of those familiarity things. So.
Yes, I already know how to work Lightburn, so it's worth the extra money to have it, in my opinion.
Yep. I think we're caught up with questions, comments.
Radu, when I get in here, like I'm fixing to have to do a job for May, and I can have it done by May. When I get in here doing stuff like that, baking soda and vinegar ain't touching my honeycomb when I get done. I'm going to have to go to Dollar General and get the cheap oven cleaner and break out the pressure washer.
Anyway, just a reminder, we do have our Facebook group. It should be linked down below at least Facebook and YouTube on both our channels. So it's a good way to ask questions and add pictures or videos or share your work or whatnot. We just ask that you not be too, give more than you take in that group. We try to keep it clear of a lot of just the commercial stuff and the spammers. We also have a community map that you can see down there as well. That's totally optional, but it's a Google map that there's a form you can put in your username or your business name, and if you want to drop your real address, you can, or you just do like a city general location. As long as Google Maps can identify it based on like city state or city country or however, it will drop a pin for you as soon as I go and manually update it from time to time. So check those things out. And then, of course, we have our own individual Facebook pages. We have our own Twitters and Instagrams and all that stuff. So always appreciate you following us on theirs because we put a lot out on YouTube. It's kind of our main thing, but we do drop little kind of sneak preview photos and such in like Facebook and everything to kind of tease what's going on or a little behind the scenes stuff. So if you want to follow us along there, it's always appreciated as well. So look for all that information down in the description of both of our channels and such. Scott's asking, am I going to do more Tinkercad videos? I will. I should have. I've kind of, most of the things I've done, I've already showed a lot. So whenever a project comes up that I need to do, I try to remember to let's fire up Tinkercad and record the development of it. I've been a little busy with just life and stuff and work. So I feel like I've gotten behind on some of my shop work and then the review stuff and other project videos. So I haven't done as much of customization using 3D printed parts as I'd like. But over time here, yeah, I'm hoping to get caught up on all of that here this spring and summer. So it's one of the, I intentionally made my channel just, Vintari's workshop so that I wasn't just focusing on one thing. But yeah, the problem is I kind of dip my toe into certain other things, then everybody wants more of that thing. And I want to do more of everything too, but it just comes down to a time thing for me. So
too many hobbies, not enough days.
Unfortunately, some of us aren't 164 days away from retirement. Work has been this past year. I've been working with an interim boss. I'm hoping the interim becomes permanent. But we just announced a new president coming into the college that starts July. So that's going to have I mean, it's been kind of this buildup and stress of the, they go through the search process and the interviewing, and now this past week they announced who it's going to be. Now we get to go through a presidential transition, which is going to bring some change as well. So my work life sometimes just leaves me quite tired at the end of the day. And this week I have to actually travel up to central Minnesota. I've got a 2.5-day conference up in the Brainerd area. So that'll be, travel and a lot of, and this is very focused to, it's put on by and for the college system, the state college system. So there's gonna be a lot of very pertinent information. It's not anything that's just kind of go fun, hang out with vendors and sit by the beach kind of thing. It'll be a lot of information, drinking from the fire hose kind of stuff. So it's going to be a week for me. But we are only a few weeks away from end of spring semester. Summer always kind of gets a little calmer for us, even though I work year round and we got projects going on. But I do plan on end of May taking a long weekend to try to just, if nothing else, get caught up in some shop stuff. So
yeah,
more to come. But yeah, sometimes life just gets in the way of all the hobbies.
I get it. Steve says, show Sheila the orange thing. I think he's talking about this. Yeah, this is how not to 3D print. That is how you do not 3D print right there. That's what it looks like. When you wake up in the morning and you're walking across there going to get some tea as you wake up and you see this, that is not a good day. That is just not a good day at all. And I don't even know how it happened, but if you look right here, the little silicone cover for the hot end is stuck right there. I don't know how it happened. But that's the silicone cover for the hot end. It just got pushed off and then it made this growth looking thing. It was a mess. It was a mess. It tested my ability to remove PLA. I'm just glad it was PLA and not something a lot more difficult to get off. So,
yep.
Yeah, Steve, 164 days from now, I won't have to worry about having to go to my job every day.
Yeah, I mean, and like Nate says, life gets in the way and you retire too. Yeah, I mean, that's true. And that's the thing that you see works well with healthy retired people. They keep themselves busy, right? And so I hear it from a lot of them. They're far more busy than when they weren't retired, but they're enjoying it because generally they're doing things that they want to do, whether it be a charity that they're volunteering at or a hobby they're able to pour into or their side business that can now be their primary. I feel like those are the happy people, even though they get more busy.
That's going to be this guy.
Yeah. For me, I would love, if I would spend probably 12, 16 hours a day out here making stuff, doing things for people and creating content. If I could wake up in the morning and have that energy to go through it, but this whole daytime job and having to be a middle manager / upper management there is just, there's those stresses and whatnot. Just it can sometimes take the wind out of your sails when you come home and you have 4+ hours or later, depending on how much of a night owl and lack of sleep you can go on to work. But yeah, I look forward to it too. It's a ways out for me at this point, but we'll see. Madra is asking, what are the pros and cons of SI or MO mirrors? As far as I understand it, so the SI, that's silicon-based mirrors, they are more reflective. So chances are you're going to lose less power from them. But the caveat to those is they're easier to scratch. So the molybdenum mirrors, they're a little less reflectivity, but they're a little more durable. And that's kind of the trade-off between the two. That's, in a nutshell, that's what I know of them. I've played around with both. I don't know that I've seen a huge improvement using the silicon-based mirrors. And as long as if you keep good air exhaust system, good air assist, hopefully that smoke isn't getting to them and marking them up. So hopefully a lot of that scratching comes when you're cleaning it. And, if you got debris on there and you rub the mirror, it can scratch it. So
Yeah, I think a lot of prevention on these machines comes from good exhaust, good ventilation to get the dirty stuff out of the box. That's the biggest thing. I mean, I see people putting filters and doing this and doing that. If you'll just get the dirty stuff out of the box so that it's not breathing it, it's much better. So it's kind of like when I'm in my shop working, it's better to me instead of having to worry about wearing a face mask and a filter and all that. It's better if I just catch the dust at the source and get it out of the shop. It solves a lot of problems if you keep your machines clean, and enclosures and how you design your enclosure goes a long way for that. AXT, anytime I'm doing, if I'm doing anything like for the clamps for the CNC or something that's going to have some pressure put on it, I use the preset on my A1 they've got a preset on there for strength. And I just use that one instead of because you've got like standard, and then you've got like some of the low resolution is kind of for prototyping or whatever, or just fit checking. And then if you go down through there, you'll see one that's called strength. I think it's called, pretty sure it's called strength. That's the one that I use for like load bearing parts. Now, like these little adapters and stuff, when I'm prototyping, I don't do it because it will take longer because it's a more dense infill and the outside layers are thicker, and there's some things that it changes. But if you're making hold downs for your CNC, it's worth a few extra minutes just to have them a little stronger so you don't break them when you try to tighten the screws down or whatever. Because PLA is what I use mostly. I'm fixing to start trying to go to PETG more, but I'm just having such good luck with PLA. I just really don't know. I don't know if I want to or not right now. So, but there you go. If you got a bamboo, that's the settings that I'm using. Just go to the preset for strength.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. I'm pretty sure that I used a similar setting because I've printed them both on my older printers as well as the A1s now. So honestly, on those, when you do the strength setting, you can almost just go solid because it doesn't leave a whole lot of left infill. So it is smart to have it fairly strong.
You got standard and strength.
That way, if you do nick them with your end mill, they might still be good rather than having that thin outer wall.
Yeah, because if it's just like one of the like regular standard, or one of the draft settings or something like that, it's going to be like a sponge when you cut the outside of it. It's going to fall apart.
Yeah. Yep. But
cat's up there playing with a curtain.
Yeah, one of the nice things to have those 3D printers for, and you don't need a huge one. I mean, you can get by with the A1 Mini to print a lot of those smaller clamp things, and even some of these exhaust adapters and such. So
that's why I like the AMS right there. That's one of the few things that I'll do with the AMS. But I will tell you, this is a little thing that I've had to learn. If you don't want to waste a bunch of filament building a tower that you don't need, when you design something that you want to be color, make sure you raise it up above the surface of the rest of the material so that those layers are after you're through with the orange. It'll just swap to the black, do this, and then it's done, instead of having to swap back and forth. It took me a little while to figure that out. But you can also go in there, and when you do the extrusion for the lettering, you can go in Bamboo Lab software and set the depth for the color. And what I do is I back it down to just before the surface of the orange. That way I don't have to worry about swapping back and forth. It also makes the print a lot faster because you're not having all that swap time. So, but I love these. I've got these on all my Galvos now because it's so much easier than that little black cap, because you will leave that black cap on there. It will happen.
David's asking what slicers are you using with your printers. For the bamboo ones, we're just using their Bamboo Studio.
Yep.
As far as my other printers in the past, I've used Cura a lot as a slicer for like the enders and such. But right now, I actually the only other printer I have right now, and that's probably one I'm going to get rid of, is that Cheedy. Oh, it's that big enclosed printer. I did a video on it well over a year ago, and it's a nice Core XY one, but it's really big, and it's kind of takes up a lot of space, and I don't utilize it as much now that I've got the bamboo ones. So, and that one, they had their own cheaty slicer as well that you kind of had to use. But
Mike, you talking about the file or the actual covers themselves? I don't currently. That's one of those things that when I retire and I've got a little more time to like be packaging stuff up and stuff like that, and maybe have more room to keep boxes and stuff. That's one of those things that I'm thinking about getting into. But right now, I don't per se. Now, if you have a printer, I have the files. We can get that, make that happen. But yeah, right now I don't ship anything out just because I've just got too much going on and I'm out of space. Like I said, I wouldn't, even if I had to go get a bunch of boxes, I don't know where I would put them because I'm running out of room, and everything that I shipped out would have cat hair in it because I got cats in here and I can't get rid of them. But yeah, I make a lot of my accessories and stuff for my machines. And that's why I got a 3D printer, was to make little things with. It's like the other day, these lights that I put up here, I needed a way to hang them, and I didn't want to like run a wire or anything. So I designed me a little hook, and I printed this with Galaxy because I was trying to make it brown. So I used some Galaxies, the closest thing to brown I had. And I printed this on the strength setting. And these things are actually really stout considering they're made out of PLA. I broke one, but it was because it was kind of in the corner. And when I tightened the screw down, it was sideways, and the impact just tightened the screw down and busted it. But yeah, I made these little clips to mount those lights with. And that's the kind of stuff that I do with. Oh, and I made me some little Clack Shack jewels for my Crocs.
yeah.
Hey, it's fun stuff, man.
Well, you got to plug some of those holes.
Huh?
You got to plug some of those holes.
Yeah, I lost all the ones I was wearing. I'll get out there in the woods in these Crocs. I don't get where I wear them all the time. I'm going to end up hurting my foot because of it, stepping on a nail or something. Because these things aren't stopping a nail.
No. No, they're not. But yeah, Mike doesn't have a 3D printer yet, so I was hoping he could grab one.
Send me an email and let me think about it. We'll see if I can get my printer to quit acting up. Which I think is the file. I've been working on another file today for this adapters, and I've been trying to make them thin so that they print faster. And I think I'm just printing it too thin. I think 2.5 millimeters thick for the base layer is just not cutting it. So I even tried putting a 2-layered raft under it, and I'm having some issues. So I think I'm fixing to just go ahead and break down and make the engaging surfaces a little thicker. Try that because I had a failed print earlier. I did this one. This one was fine, but I've had a few of them that's got a little shifty on me. So I'm gonna redo that. But yeah. But this is on standard. I actually printed this one on standard because it was, it's just an adapter. And it's pretty strong though. I mean, PLA surprises you.
There's no infill on that one, so
yeah. Works well.
Yeah. Scott, send me a note, send me an email. Like I said, I'd be happy to get that 3D printer out of it's in my basement right now, sitting on the next to the computer. It's kind of in the way. So yeah, if you're local, we could work something out. Doesn't owe me anything at this point, so other than it's taking up space. So
yeah. Yeah, I've got a couple of things I would like to add to my shop, but right now I've got nowhere to put anything. And I've actually considered, and I know this sounds bad, but I've actually considered trying to get me a bigger CO2 that I could do my stove covers and stuff on and use for like this big job that I got coming up. But I really want to. I can't afford to put it in here right now because I have no space. So in order to do that, I would have to get rid of a couple of enclosures or whatever. And I'm teetering on that idea right now. Oh, before we get gone, shameless plug, guys. Shameless plug. I'm owning it. if you don't mind, if you're interested in, say, biscuit or the honeybees or any of the other craziness that goes on here around my place, I had to swap and stop putting all of the random things on the Shack channel just because it was really making analytics weird. People were unsubscribing because they're like, I don't want to see nothing about this garden or about these chickens or about these bees or whatever. And they were unsubscribing. So I've got this whole other channel and I'm trying to get it off the ground. And I've got 164 days to get this thing up and going. It's at I think I need 15 subscribers to be at my 1,000, which I still got to get watch time, but I'm going to do some lives and stuff, hopefully to try to get that up there. But it is at 988 subscribers. So let's please help me get that thing to 1,000. It's really been driving me nuts. I started it back in October, but shortly thereafter I slipped and tore up this knee and had to have surgery and couldn't do nothing. And it's just been sitting. So now I'm trying to get everything going. And Chris is asking how the split hive is going. And if you check out the other channel, I did an update today on where we're at with that. And so far, there's been a few people watched it. So yeah, that's where all the bee stuff is going to be. There is not a chicken live stream yet. I'm going to be honest with you guys, though, but I have actually thought about setting up some cameras and doing some lives with the bees and the chickens because I just think it's cool. If you've never sit and chicken therapy is a real thing. You just get a chair and you go sit by the chicken pen and watch the chickens. And it's very therapeutic and relaxing. So I've thought about putting me a chicken therapy camera up for you guys to watch to try to help me get some watch hours. But we'll see. But yeah, if you haven't already, go check it out. If it's something you're into, then please subscribe. Please help a brother out. I got to retire in 164 days. I got to have stuff to keep me busy. I'm going to be building chicken pens. I'm going to be doing some tree cutting. May even teach you guys how to cut a tree because I did that for a long time. Because I counted today. I've got 5 dead trees I've got to get cut down before they fall on something and hauled off. And with this back problem I've been having, I've been putting it off. So I've got to get all this stuff done. So yeah, it's going to be basically all the crap that I do around here that isn't related to lasers, CNCs, and shop work is going to be over there. The chicken pen build may actually be kind of like both, but we'll see. Now the donkey does not talk. He actually got relocated. His owner was not happy the second day in a row when I called him to come get him. So his owner decided to put him in a different fence because he found out that he was actually jumping the fence to come see me. So he moved him down the road from me, and hopefully he won't come back because he said if he comes back, he's mine.
I was gonna say he's just gonna give him to you.
Yeah, he told me, he said if he shows back up here, he's yours. Just tie him to a tree. I'm not coming after him again. So
yeah. Yeah.
David, the chickens that I have, let's put it this way. I feed them chicken food because I can't let them free range because I got hawks that will kill them and owls that'll eat them at night. But they eat scratch feed and laying pellets. That's pretty much it. I don't supplement them or feed them anything weird or anything like that. No, they eat a lot of compost. Matter of fact, the video that I got today that I put out, I haven't released it yet. I went and used some compost from the chicken pen to fertilize the garden that is doing really well so far. So that's fixing to be, that'll be out here in a little bit. I haven't finished it. I was working on it right before we started this because I was literally up at the chicken pen cleaning out the chicken house at like 6:30, and then I was down here at 7. So
Ralph has a bit of a off subject matter, but you've been talking about donkeys, so
hey, anything's to go for the last 20 minutes or so.
So the question is, any hints on reshaping foam airplane parts? I have a Stratos that's been in storage, and the rudder top tip now has a bend over. So most of those parts are done through injection molding, and they'll form to that through heat. So the nice thing is they do kind of build a bit of a memory for that original shape, but you gotta kind of reheat it. So you're gonna want to use some pretty warm water, possibly even boiling. Kind of, if you can isolate that part and maybe just dip that in the water, get it warmed up, it will somewhat try to bend back to its original formed shape on its own. So I would try that first. Just be careful. There's a balance between enough heat to rebend it versus too much heat to kind of cause it to bubble and deform itself. But heat is going to be your friend on trying to reshaping that foam. Outside of that, probably going to end up having to get yourself a chunk of EPS and reshape it and glue it on, maybe polyacrylic over it to give it a little sealant, and then you can try to color match any sort of paint or whatever. But I would try the hot water heat first, see if that'll kind of get it to try to reform its original shape. ATX has a bit of a tip. Sounds like some experience here. If you're using a fly cutter to level your CNC board, make sure you turn off the bit setter and set the zero manually. Cutter has a recess and the zero's too low, will dive in your wasteboard. Yeah, that can happen. I usually on things like that, I will use that looks about right, and then just slowly step it down in the software, or use the piece of paper, bring it down to where the paper just starts grabbing off the surface, and then program in your micro step down from there. Usually doing a manual zeroing at that point, when either clearing flattening a board or a slab or your actual spoil board. But yeah, we've all kind of had those experiences where we've screwed up zeroing a bit, and all of a sudden there's a real funny shape in your spoil board that sometimes lives there for a while.
Or if it's really bad, there's this really funny shape in your T-track.
Well, then you've gone pretty deep. But yeah,
I had it happen. I actually it was my bad, but I changed bits and forgot to reset the Z. And when it went to cutting it out, it was just like I heard it go, ching, and I'm like, oh, what was that noise? And I look over there, and I've got this neat little gap just cut right through that aluminum T-track. And I'm like, okay.
Now I would just like to comment here that this statement isn't telling you that you can't get into a petting zoo. Like, she didn't advise you to not. She just thought maybe you were starting one, and she maybe thought that was a good idea.
Hey, I'll say this. If I do want to go pet some animals or play with some animals, my buddy Jason over at Cog Hill, they live like not far from here, and they've got every animal you can think of. And I'll go mess with theirs. The only animals that I can say when I retire I may add to my property is, I got like 8 acres here. I don't like maintaining 8 acres. Like it's a lot, keeping the brush and debris up and keeping the, So what I've considered is fencing in the backside of the property and getting me a couple of goats, like some brush goats, just to keep stuff chewed up and keep it cleaned off. So that is the only addition that we may have here.
Well, they can double.
I got a livestock dog with no livestock.
They can do double duty, because apparently there's this thing called goat yoga. And
well, Brandy did say one time that she wanted to retire and do goat yoga all day.
So they're going to do that at they're going to do that at our college, but I think it's going to be one of these days this week where I'm traveling to this conference, because I thought, oh man, I'm going to miss it, because I was going to bring some firecrackers and see how well goat yoga does when there's loud. But that's just a little brother in me wanting to create some. Yeah,
that's what you should have done with your AI credits. You should have got AI to put you doing goat yoga. That would have got some views on Facebook.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
I don't know.
The south of the border, Steve, was very interesting. But goat yoga, Steve, that would be even more interesting.
Yeah, that was just one. I was trying a few different ones to see if I could come. All I was doing was taking a photo of me and saying, turn this into make it look like it was like an oil-based painting or a watercolor painting. And They were all over the place. I mean, one of them turned my Twins hat into a Yankees hat.
Yeah, I saw that. It decided it didn't like the Twins.
I mean, in fairness, the Twins are just. We're just not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
They're doing horrible this year. So
Missing officer.
it would be surprised. I was surprised.
Don't believe everything that you read. As far as I know, there is no missing officer. That's probably some of that. I've been seeing some like spammy stuff on the internet.
Yeah, AI tools can be really great, but man, they can they can do some great things, but they can be some really getting the context of your request, all the right prompts to get it to do it right. It can be frustrating. So
yeah,
luckily this was just kind of for fun. I was trying to make something. I mean, it was a mix between the printer software that the UV printer, and then playing around with some of the other options out there. But
yeah,
I'm not too worried about it.
Depending on that for a job.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. Taking over jobs just yet on some of that. But
yeah, it's kind of funny. I ain't gonna lie. I saw it and I was like, that's a little off key there. It kind of missed the mark just a little bit.
I was making quite a few of them, and I'd send them to Carla. She's like, I don't like that. I don't like that either.
Now Mark says he did like your Clack Shack action figure.
Well, yeah,
that one was pretty decent, but now they messed up the look. They got the clothes and everything right, but yeah.
Yeah, I tried doing. I was kind of the same boat. I know some people did these and they made them look very close to the individual, but yours was closer than the ones that it made for me. So
yeah, I will say that. Yeah. Jackson, did you 3D print your action figure?
Yeah. Now, if AI could actually create an STL for those things, that'd be pretty cool.
Mean, it's probably not far out.
Not that. Yeah, I'm sure. Just takes a little more computing processing. So,
not sure what's going on there.
Maker will, yeah, Jack. I know there are a few out there that can do some of that. So it's. I don't know. I mean, that's both good and bad.
Money for the software, maybe, but
it's both good and bad, because there are some people who have, like, you might be more creative in your imagination, but you have a hard time like making your what's in your mind into something tangible and physical. So this maybe helps bridge that, but a lot of it's also learning off of taken away from other people's work. So. Yeah, we need to make it into a bobblehead.
Mercy. No, I think we good. I think we good on that. But yeah. But now, like I said, once retirement gets here, or gets close anyway, we'll start ramping into the other thing to kind of, do some other stuff, because there is a lot of other stuff goes on around here other than just in the shop. I mean, I do enjoy the shop. I spend a lot of time out here, but when I get time enough, I'm going to be doing more stuff inside. Wow, I'm at 993 now. Sweet. I'll tell you, I forgot how hard it is. The struggle is real at first 1,000. I ain't gonna lie.
Well, they reduced the number of subscribers and watch time you need to start getting like the supers and the stars and things like that.
Yeah, but that you know how that goes. That's not.
I mean, it helps some channels, when people want to help support creators, and I thought that was one way that might help. Our friend Ryan over there with his channel, he's been doing the Saturday night show and trying to get his watch hours up and everything. And sometimes people just want to throw some money your way, and at least they've opened that up. But yeah, to get the ad revenue that just comes from people freely watching them, that still takes a bit of time, a little struggle, but.
Oh yeah, because I think I'm probably only at like 250 hours of watch time. It's like ridiculous. Because looking at the stats for this channel and looking at the stats for my other one, it's like, I get that much watch time off of one video over here, but over there, like it's a struggle. Like it is unreal. Reminds me of my days of struggling with the other one. Yeah, I'm at like 219 watch hours. So it's going to be a minute. It's going to be a while.
Yep. Well, coming up on their 2 hours. So if people have any last minute questions, now's a good time to drop them in there.
Oh. Well, Steve, I've been telling her she needs to get on the channel more. Maybe if y'all tell her, maybe that would help. I did get her like in the last 5 seconds of my last video, and her response was, "Man, you're really quick with that camera, aren't you?" That was her response. So hopefully she'll come around. I'm very persistent, so eventually she'll give in. $9.95, he said. But yeah.
I mean, I think I mean, the thing is, a lot of your content on there is kind of shorter, quicker things. They're little updates.
Yeah, I haven't done any long stuff yet.
That it makes it a little tougher. So, you know, maybe doing a live or something, you know, if you can get it worked out the next time you're servicing those beehives. I know you tried that once and the internet was messing with you, but getting some of those I think would help.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do some V videos. I really hate that I didn't have a chance when I did that split the other day to do it. It's hard to set a camera up out there and catch everything. You almost need somebody to help you with the camera. And Brandy is not about to put on a bee suit and get anywhere near the bees. So, you know, if Abby was home, she would probably help me. You know, my buddy Bill, he'll help me. Klein ain't getting near a beehive because he said he had to have an EpiPen in his pocket. So it's you know, it's challenging with stuff like that. A lot of times what I end up doing is I just set up a camera and just record it and try to show some stuff and go from there.
Yeah.
So that's what I need to do once I get the time. Right now the problem is between machines and jobs and all that. I've been playing catch up since this last surgery, and I haven't had the time to really sit down and do it. But I'm gonna get it there. It's gonna work out because that's gonna be basically when I'm not in the shop doing stuff. I'll be sharing stuff over there because I think the chicken pen build is gonna be a pretty decent video because there's gonna be some. You know, I know Nick over at Build Dad Build was saying the other day in his live that he's fixing to try to build a chicken pen, and I've had chickens since I was, I guess, 5. All my life, pretty much. There was a few years that me and my wife didn't have a situation where we could have chickens, but pretty much as a kid, I had chickens, and since I've moved here, which has been about 25 years, almost 25 years, I've had chickens. So there's a very small window when I didn't have them. But yeah, it's fun. What's she saying? I stepped away for 1 minute and came back to my name. Hope it was a good talk. See, that's why you got to pay attention on these lives. We'll talk about you.
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, maybe next time I'm down there, we'll do some I don't know, some non-laser content like that. When
if you come out here after October, it's going to be a lot of things going to be different.
Well, you know, normally, so the event that I've come down there the past 2 years for, that's actually only a week away. And since I got this other conference and I was down there for Workbench Con, I was like, well, I'm not going to that fly-in event, and which was kind of a good excuse to come hang out with you. So maybe I'll just got to find some time here to just make a trip down there and do some stuff. So. Yeah,
I get a lot of people too. And one thing that I'm looking forward to with being retired is I don't want folks just dropping by the house every day because I ain't never going to get anything done if I do that. But what I plan to do, and me and Brandy's talked about this, is I plan on basically having a certain day of the week that if you want to come by or whatever, or just have times, just let me know. And if you're going to be in the area, I can set up something, maybe go have lunch with folks and stuff like that. So it's I plan on doing a lot more, being a lot more involved here with the channel and with local businesses and and a lot of things. But I still got a kid that's in school doing band, so I'm gonna devote a lot more time to that than what I have in the past. That's going to eat up a little bit of my extra time, but that's the whole purpose of me retiring. It's not that, you know, I've got so much money I just need to retire or anything like that. I enjoy doing this more with the back issues and the knee and stuff like that. Some of the physical aspects of law enforcement, I don't want to have to do. Some of the things I probably, to be honest with you, I probably couldn't do right now because of, you know, the surgeries and stuff. So I'm ready to open up a new chapter. I do have some good friends, you know, May, Jason, and Brooke over at Cog Hill, folks like that do content creation and a business that kind of runs alongside content creation full time. And so I'm gonna try it. I will have my retirement check or my pension, as some folks calls it, you know, to help take the edge off the bills, but I still will have to take my business and generate enough income to pay for insurance and cover that gap from, you know, working income to retired income. So we're going to try it. We're going to see. Y'all may have to come visit me at Walmart saying, you know, thank you for coming to Walmart if it gets real bad and I need money, but we're going to give it a go. We're going to try it here at the shack. Yeah, Chris and Brandon, you're just saying you're more of you on the other channel, maybe a director or producer. Yeah, if she's getting there, Chris. She's getting there.
Just need to give her a telephoto lens. She can hang back.
To know when you're going to start dropping videos on the UV printer, Steve.
So the original thing was they didn't want anything out until basically when the Kickstarter goes live. So it was right around I was told around the 30th. I think the Kickstarter might actually start on the 28th. They're actually also doing some, if you go to their website, you can lock in you can get their early thing by putting a small deposit down. I think it's the 23rd. They did recently lift the embargo, so that's why I'm actually able to talk about it this week. A few people have dropped a few like kind of teaser short videos, and I might do a couple of shorts just kind of showing some stuff. My official first kind of big overview video on it should be right around the 30th. So about 10 days, because that's what their original timeline was. So I'm trying to make sure I got everything. Like I said, I'm be gone for 2.5 days this week, so it's gonna cut back a little bit of my time. But between now and then when I get back, I'll be doing a lot of that to kind of build up. I mean, I've been doing a lot of printing anyway, so it's not too bad. Now, the one thing I will notice, so if you look at this is typical because a lot of their alignment's done with a camera.
I think you're right. I wasn't going to call you out on that earlier, but since you brought it up, it is a little out of center.
So they do have a calibration tool on there that takes some paper. And that's one of the things that I might actually reach out to their engineers and say, after I do the calibration, if it's still off a bit, do they have a way to like shift the you know, in the axis a little bit? So that's one of my concerns with this, is kind of similar to what we've seen with the cameras on lasers. How accurate can we make that? Because most of this is going to be printing on, you know, objects that you want it to be centered and such. It's not engraving and then cutting. But once that's kind of sorted out, I think this will be a pretty cool tool. It also does have the other thing I haven't played with. So I mentioned the rotary for doing like tumblers and mugs and such. The other thing it has is kind of a lamination film to make like stickers and such. I haven't looked too much into how that works because it has like a film it prints on, and then you put it through the laminator, and then I don't know. So I'll be curious to see how well that works in the whole process there. And maybe down the road they'll come out with other inks that allow more of like a, you know, a transfer film kind of thing on that's going to be more flexible for fabrics. I don't know. What they've advised me so far is that fabrics and flexible things aren't as great with kind of this initial stock of ink they have. So, but yeah, looking forward to it in about 10 days. I'll be able to have more of the full video on that.
Yeah, Big Mike from Florida is saying, are you sold on the UV printer, or should we wait until X-Tool releases one? I think it's a little early for that, right?
Yeah. So this is, you know, and this is the first UV printer I've ever used. there's a lot of other, it's not a new technology, but this is kind of one of the first ones that I've seen them really kind of make it more compact. And there are a few others out there that have kind of a self-maintenance thing, but that's been kind of the complaint about a lot of others, is that you got to use it daily, or you got to have someone come and run a maintenance job on it daily. Otherwise it starts clogging up, your ink wells and that. This one has a way where it has kind of a separate reservoir, a cleaning kit. So if it sits for too long, it will start its maintenance mode where it's going to try to remove the ink, replace it and with this fluid. And then when you start up again, then you got to wait a good 15 minutes, let it refill those. So the nice thing there is that it's easier to kind of set it, forget it, and let it kind of self-maintain. But we'll see. I would imagine X-Tool, they've been kind of going in all sorts of directions. I wouldn't be surprised to see them coming out with one. They've got their DTF kind of apparel printer that they came out with. Of course, now the big expensive metal making machine, which, I've seen others. We saw, I think GWiki has a similar one. OMTech has a similar gun, and then they have some higher end expensive laser metal cutting machines as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with something, but I don't know where the price is going to be. I would think they'd probably target this similar to what Eufy and Anchor have done here, but hard to say.
Yeah. Tim Arthur is saying, wife and I are going to take a beekeeping class at the local community college. Well, Tim, if that's something you're into, I will share this with you. This is my go-to guy. I'm a hobbyist at best, but I have learned so much from my buddy Brad. And Brad was my beekeeper first. And he came over and helped me with the bees and helped me when I first got my first hive a few years ago. And as I was doing the YouTube thing, he watches a lot of my videos, which I don't know why, but he does. And he started his own YouTube channel because he's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to managing honeybees and doing it the natural way, so to speak, without a lot of chemicals and stuff like that. He does. There are needs for chemicals in certain situations, but Brad's really good. He is very good at it. So if you want somebody that's knowledgeable, he has thousands of hives. He sells bees and queens and all that. So if you're into that, go check him out and check that channel out. Because if you're planning on taking a class, this guy right here, if you sit down and watch his videos, you'll learn as much as you will in a class. So let's see what else we got here. Steve, there you go. Oh, I think we may have clicked on
one. Question is, do I use an 1/8 inch collet adapter for the Harbor Freight compact router? Bought one, but want to use 1/8 inch tooling. Cannot find an 1/8 inch collet for it. Not yet. I've only used, so I have, one of the nice things that Cody does is he has like 1/4 inch shank, but 1/8 inch, I think they call it the Slim Jenny. I could be wrong on that. He's got a number of different ones.
Yeah.
And then there's also ones that, taper down. So I've been using those specifically in there. Now I did buy an aftermarket 1/8 inch collet for my Makita router, and I'm trying to remember, there was a site that makes them for a variety of different tools. And so if I can find that, they might have one for this Bauer, because they make kind of replacement ones for a lot of them, but I'm trying to find it really quick. But that would allow you to swap that out for the 1/4 inch one.
Yeah, I saw a company that did that, but I'm wanting to say it was a little pricey, but
yeah, it wasn't the cheapest thing, but it was a good option.
Yeah.
So if I can find it really quick, I'll drop it in here. Otherwise, maybe next week I can bring it up too.
Saying he grabbed one from IDC.
I know they have one for the Makita, but I don't know if
it says it's a Bauer.
Does it work for the Bauer? Okay,
that's what Jack's saying. Said he does use a 1/8 inch collet adapter for his Harbor Freight Bauer router. Got it from IDC. So there's an option right there. And like I said, I buy most of my bits from Cody, but there's some bits that Cody doesn't have yet, and so I order those from IDC. I needed this week. Matter of fact, I've got to use it. I've got an extended reach Genie, but I need some. I think I probably need a O flute, an extended O flute for this plastic stuff that we've been working with. But I measured the O flute. I think I can make it work. But cutting that 1.5 inch or whatever that plastic, it's just gonna be pushing it to the limit as far as my length of my bit. I don't like getting too close to that top or too close to the nut.
Yeah, I see is it the same collet as the Makita?
I would think it would probably be the same. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a Bauer, so I can't speak to it.
Chris said he got collets from AliExpress as well. But yeah, I would. I mean, there's always the sleeve reducers, which I don't like to use.
Yeah. I have some of those, but those were early purchase.
Yeah.
He says it's $8.94 from IDC.
Well, that's the reducer collet. That's just the sleeve one.
Oh,
so I mean that would work. It's nice to have the actual one that goes in the, that because now you're using 2 collets to clamp down.
Yeah, little dust get in there. You got 2 different places it could have an effect. Yeah, I've used those and I had good luck with them, especially on some of the smaller machines. But I've never used one of those on my Shapoko. I've got 1/8 inch collets.
Hold on here. Maybe I think it was Ilaire. I'll do a quick search on their site to see if they have it. Yeah, they have them for a lot of the major brands. So they got Makita, DeWalt, Milwaukee, and such. I'd have to see if any of those match.
Yeah,
because they don't explicitly have one that's for the Bauer.
Well, we're at 2 hours and 7 minutes, so it's about that time, guys. And I'm 998 subscribers over on the other channel, so we've almost got it. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Because I've been sitting there watching. You could ask Brandy. I've been watching that, going, my gosh, this is slow. It's like watching paint dry. It never goes up. But it's been a while since I had to know that struggle.
Yeah, remind me next week. I will try to see if the one for my Makita fits into the Bauer by an off chance.
That might even be a good little 3-minute video.
Yeah. Otherwise, let's see. There's a few other things I've used over the years, but yeah, maybe there'll be an option there that works. But there are always the reducing adapters that are an option. I just like to use just a single collet whenever possible, but push come to shove, they do work. So anyway, yep, we've gone over our 2 hours.
Hey, at least ain't 30 minutes over like we did the other day.
Yeah. But thanks everybody for another fun live. Thanks for spending part of your Easter Sunday with us. If you celebrate, we know that a lot of people have a lot of family and church things going on, so always appreciate that. Like I said, I'm doing a little traveling this week, but trying to get caught up on shop stuff. I've got the craft back on the bench. We've got the switch fixed and operable, so I can do the modes.
Do we need to tell people what was wrong with the switch?
Well, it wasn't working.
I mean, but I remember there was a guy that said, "Is it plugged in?"
It may have been slightly loose on the plug, and that was all it needed. But it's working now, so I can move forward with
I think because I'm pretty sure somewhere on my phone in Messenger, unless you've deleted it already, there's a message going, did you check the wires going to the illumination? And you're like, yes.
Well, there's wires. Okay, so there's multiple plugs on the back of the switch, and then there's the one white plug that goes onto the circuit board. And I had looked at both, but when I went to replace the switch with the new one, I noticed that the white plug was just ever so slightly at an angle. And so when I properly seated it, yes, then it started working, and I felt really bad because I had waited 2 weeks for its replacement to come that I didn't need. But
yeah, that was probably, if I was guessing, that white cable that was unplugged was probably a 5-volt output coming off of the controller going to the illumination LEDs.
Yeah. So I got that on the bench, and of course, be doing more with the UV printer, because those are kind of my priorities now. I do have some other miscellaneous projects, and as you saw, if you haven't checked it, please go check out the little 3-minute short I did on the Reno. I know a lot of people have asked about that laser as well as a budget one. So that gives a couple of options on air assist that are, one of them is very simple. As long as you've got another air pump, especially if you have something like one of these atom stack ones, you can hook this up, and that makes a huge difference on that budget laser. So check that out. I'm going to be doing more with that over time as well. So more to come. Just need to make sure I get the shop time. Yep.
And if I can get this Monport picked up, I'm gonna try to upgrade the air assist on it. But I gotta get some lifting assistance. Brandy came out here today, gonna help me. But I was worried that trying to reach over my bench and get it up, that it would be slipped and fail, or one of us be hurt ourselves. So we decided to pass on it until I got some more help, so we can have more hands on deck.
Yep.
But anyway, guys, appreciate you coming, stopping by. If you hadn't already, hit the subscribe link, follow, all that good stuff. Every Sunday, like we haven't missed a Sunday at all. Super Bowl Sunday, Christmas, Easter, you name it, we've been here. Now, there may come a day, but so far we are at, what episode is this? 124 episodes uninterrupted. So there you go. But add us to your favorites, and come back and hang out with us next week. We'll have more information and more fun stuff. Hopefully by then I'll have the We Create video out, and I will be playing with the Monport Mopa. It is a game changer for me, coming from a 30 watt to a 60 watt. It's kind of a big deal. I didn't realize how much the power made difference wise. It's a big deal. So been fun though.
Yeah, I'm just slumming it with the 20 watt units. So
I don't want to hear it, Mr. I can print in color with embossing. Golly.
You said you don't want one because you don't have space for it. So
I don't right now. Brandy might want one. I don't want one right now. I don't have nowhere to put it. If I get it, it's gonna have to go in the house, and then she's gonna be like, "You've taken over half the living room." Well, actually, it'll be about half the living room by that time. And
well, Carla's already asking me to
stuff just keeps growing. Like I ordered some filament today, so
Carla's already asking me to install the software on her computer because she's got plans for it. I'm like, hey, I got to get through the video first.
You're gonna be out of ink trying to do the video.
Yeah.
You're like,
what happened?
Yeah.
So
all right, guys. Well, have a good one.
We'll see ya.
See you.